So I'm going to take you guys through my experience doing Airbnb arbitrage for the first time. I'm going to tell you guys how I got my first property, what it was like communicating with guests and hosts, and most importantly, what I know you all want to know is how much money I was able to make. But firstly, Airbnb arbitrage is a way of renting out a cottage on Airbnb without actually owning that cottage or that place. So what you do is you find someone who has a place to rent out and is not listed on Airbnb, and then you go and offer to market it for them. In return, you get a commission on the revenue, or what you can do is you can also ask them for a discounted price that you rented from them at. Then what you do is you mark up that price and you profit the difference. So it's a very clever way to make an extra income even if you don't own a property with little effort. So I landed my first property back in December of 2021. And since then, I've had over 7 bookings of interest over the past 6 months, and I've also managed to get a second property. But that word interest is very, very important for later in this video. So in about December 2021, a family friend mentioned that they had this house on their property that was open for bookings and listed onto Airbnb. It was a 5-bedroom house and it could accommodate up to 9 guests, and it was in an area of the country which is known for its tourist attractions. So it was a great opportunity and I could see it doing well. But they had one prerequisite, and that was that they didn't want to host just one guest at a time. They wanted the house to be as full as possible, and they didn't want to host people for just one night. So they wanted a little bit of longer stay, 3 to 5 nights or even longer than that. So everything was set up at this point, and then I just had to basically wait. Then, not a few weeks later, I got my first message. Now, I was over the moon. You know, this was the first message I got about the Airbnb, and someone was interested in renting it out. But there was an issue. So this person was coming from Germany and they were landing in the country within the next 48 hours and they needed a place to stay. But there was one issue, and that was that they were just a single person. And now obviously the owner of the property did not want to rent it out just to one person and I think the guy wanted to stay for like 2 nights. So unfortunately I had to reject that. Then a few more weeks later, I got another person interested. Now this time they also didn't meet the requirements. And so at this point, I went and changed my Airbnb listing because I had set it up wrong, which allowed people to only book for like 1 night and 1 guest at a time. So that's when I went and changed some settings on my Airbnb app. And so now, even if one person wanted to stay, they still had to pay the full price for 5 guests, and the minimum stay length was 3 nights. So now that was all set up, and now hopefully from then on, I would have no more issues. And then a few more weeks go by, and I get a third message. Now this time, everything was good, but the owner was booked for those dates. So once again, I had to cancel the request. Then a few more weeks go by, and someone was interested. They met all the requirements once again, but this time the owner was away, so they couldn't even host these people. And this happened 2 or 3 times while they were away. So at this point, I had to take off my listing for that month. So I missed out on 3 or 4 opportunities to rent the place because the owner could not host them because they were not at home. So at this point, I'd rejected like 6 people and I'd made no money from this, and there was a lot of potential revenue, but I was just not able to close anyone because things were just not lining up. But then I managed to land a second property. This time, a person wanted me to advertise it for them, and that's what I did. I put it on Airbnb, and within 2 days, I had someone who booked it, and everything was going well. They placed the booking, the owner was happy, and I'd set up the arrangement. So at this point, it looked like I was going to finally make my first amount of money from Airbnb. Then, 3 days later, the owner tells me they no longer want to rent out the place. So at this point, I have to cancel the reservation, which was disappointing, to say the least. And I also learned that if you cancel a reservation as a host, you have to undergo a $50 penalty. And not only that, but you also get like a whole bunch of negative things put on your profile saying that you did cancel reservation, and you also risk being a superhost. So it's more difficult for you to become superhost status. And this is basically where we are at in the recent days. I had to cancel that. You know, the guest, I tried as hard as possible to find them other accommodation because it was during a time of the year where it was very busy in this area. and there was like no accommodation available. So I tried my hardest to try and help the guests get another accommodation. I did not manage to do that, so I just ended up having to cancel it, and I undergoed a $50 penalty. But luckily, the owner of the place, they were understanding of this, and they paid me the $50, so I didn't have to fork it out myself. So that's basically where we are at now. I have not made any money from Airbnb, although I do think it is a nice way to make an extra income on the side if you get a couple of properties lined up, like maybe 5 to 10, and if you put effort into this, I definitely think you could make some money. I did not really put any effort in, things just came my way, and I took the opportunity, and I just sat and waited to see. Just let the app do its thing. So I think you can definitely make some money with this if you gave it a good shot. I'm not going to continue it in the future, but if you continue it, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you guys make any money or if you have made any money from this.